Hello, my name is G. Dyer, for those who don't know me. Welcome to Missions Monday, a journey into the extraordinary. You would close your eyes for just a moment and imagine. Imagine you find yourself standing on the edge of something vast, a world beyond your own, a calling, a pull, something deep inside you knows that there's more. That's what Missions Monday is all about. Not just because mission sounds good with Monday, but because missions ignite something powerful within all of us. Now, be honest, I don't love every kind of mission trip or every kind of missions project. Some, they aren't my calling at all. Medical missions, I'm not qualified. You don't want me putting a needle in your arm. Large scale construction projects, I'm a handyman, but I can't do large scale construction. They're incredible works, but they are not what I am called to be doing. But ministry missions, that's where I thrive. Discipleship, evangelism, stepping into the unknown and watching God move in ways that defy logic. Now, let me clear something up. When I say missions, and I talk about missionaries, I'm not talking about what the Mormons do. That's a different thing altogether. No, what we're going to explore here is something entirely different. I'll share with you stories that will challenge you, testimonies that will awaken something inside you, and moments of radical faith from those who gave a few days to missions and people who gave their entire lives to living on the mission field. Now here's the truth. All missions, medical missions, construction, and what I call ministry missions, they're all ministry missions. Why? Because at its core, ministry means to serve. So each week, I'm going to bring you stories from modern times and from centuries ago. Some will be about medical missions, some will be about work missions, and others will dive deep into the heart of ministry where faith meets action. Some of these stories will shake you, some will stir something deep within you, and some will call you to step out in faith like never before. And today we're going to start with a story that began in November of 1981. Take a deep breath, lean in, and let's begin. There are moments in life when you hear a story so profound and deeply moving that it shifts something deep inside you. I heard this story back in, I think, 1997, and I heard it from the two missionaries that lived it out. Now, it was also written in a book, and I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about where you can find the book. But in that book, they have several stories, and this is one of the stories I want to share with you. It's the incredible true story of two missionaries and their children, Dennis and Jean Cook, who embarked on a journey of radical faith, facing the impossible and experiencing miraculous provision in ways that will leave you in awe. As you listen and watch, I invite you to immerse yourself completely. Feel the air of the jungle, sense the hunger in their bellies, hear the whispers of doubt, but more importantly, experience the overwhelming power of faith that breaks every limitation. Again, this is the story that I'm going to be talking about today. It comes from a book called Missionary Strategies, published by Faith Library Publications. but today I'm going to tell the story in my own words. Again, lean in, take a deep breath, and let yourself be drawn into a world where the supernatural becomes natural. Imagine you're stepping onto a plane. Not just any plane, but this plane is taking you into the unknown. You have no idea what awaits you. But deep in your spirit, you feel it. You just know this was a reality for Dennis and Jean Cook. Before they ever arrived in Panama, God had already whispered to their hearts, "You will work in the leper colony among the American military and with a Panamanian people." And so, with nothing but faith and an unshakable peace in their hearts, they landed in a country where they didn't even speak the language. They didn't know anyone, and they weren't even certain that a leper colony existed. But when God speaks, He always makes a way. Within 3 days, they were placed as pastors over an English-speaking church, just 5 miles from the leper colony. But then the testing came. Their rent was about $350 a month, but they had only brought $1,000 with them. It didn't take long before they found themselves completely out of money and in desperate need of a miracle. And then the moment came. They ran out of food. Hunger gnawed at them, but deep inside they knew something, and that was that God is faithful. Then the miracle began. That night, they sat at the table, Dennis and Jean and their children, looking at an almost empty pot of food. Jean placed it in the refrigerator, and they went to bed in peace. The next morning, she opened the refrigerator, and the pot was full. The same meal for 3 days, 9 meals in total. They ate the same thing, but they ate. After every meal, the pot went back into the fridge. And again, and again, and again, it refilled itself. Or more accurately, God refilled it. For 3 days, God multiplied their food, and just as He did for the widow in the Bible. And on the third day, a check arrived in the mail. That night, they went to open the pot again, but the food was gone. When I heard them tell the story live, Jean made a joke about Dennis and said that, he was kind of a tightwad, so he wanted to go and keep eating the free food. But once God had provided the money, they didn't need the free food anymore. God had provided exactly what they needed when they needed it. But their journey was only beginning. For a year and a half, they had no transportation. Rain poured relentlessly, 150 inches per year. The heat burned mercilessly, 120 degrees at its worst. And yet they walked through it all to get to the leper colony. And when they arrived, their hearts broke. Religious leaders had told the lepers, "This is your cross to bear. This disease is God's will for you." And when Dennis and Jean told them, "God loves you," the lepers would lift up their disfigured hands and say, "Yeah, He really loves me." But something deeper was at work. A seed was being planted. And then something happened that changed everything. Have you ever faced a moment when you had nothing left except faith? Have you ever walked into a situation where everything seemed impossible, and yet somewhere deep inside you knew God was still in control? Don't miss part 2 next Monday, because the miracles are just beginning.